As we all know, development never reaches a peak and it stops. Yes, development never reaches a crescendo and people say, Hallelujah, we have arrived and everything goes into standstill. Development is dynamic, endless. Even developed nations are called developed because of certain agreed upon factors. It is not that they have reached an end, a limit, as it were, to development. Development always continues advancing from one phase of development to another. Even developing countries essentially are also developed in a way. But since they are behind in certain factors, some of which may be related to the economy or even to the way of life the people in those countries lead, or the lifespan of the people in those countries, they are considered developing. Developed countries rather, are called developed because of certain factors, but actually they are also developing. In other words, every country, every nation, every region, every place in the world is developing in one way or the other. No place is static. Every place is developing. What is development then? You may ask. Well, development is a complex term. Complex in the sense that it depends on so many factors, on so many players and actors, and so many complex situations and considerations and factors, such that it's not easy to say this development is this or that. Even then, we all agree that all human beings need to keep improving economically, in the way they deal with problems, in the way they work, in the way they produce food, in the way they give services or provide services, and in the way they protect themselves from disease and other adverse environmental and other conditions. In other words, as humans, we must keep getting civilized in one way or the other. So nobody has any justification to claim that, well, our community, our city, our village, our town, our region, our district, our country, or our area or our continent is fully developed, so we must sit and enjoy. Well, if we ever do that, then we face serious problems indeed. What then? We must change the way we look at things. We must look far beyond what we are ordinarily used to. We must think much deeper, much wider, much broader, and more meticulously, and even more simply, or much simpler, or more simplistically than we do, or than we are used to. Even when we go into details of any situation, issue, or anything, we must sometimes rest and look at the things we already know. the very simple things which make the greatest difference. That's why we must change deliberately in the way we look at things. We must always look far beyond what is trending. Modernization never stops. In other words, we cannot say that we are modernized and then we say, hallelujah, we have nothing more to do. If we ever do that, then we'll be making a major mistake indeed. We must be able to divine one phase of development, the next phase of development, and so on. We must also be able to divine one level of modernization, the next phase of modernization, and so on. Civilization is continuous, endless, ever dynamic, ever changing in every sense and way. So we must think much deeper, more broadly, more widely, more meticulously, and even more simplistically than we are used to. We must be able to see what other people see. We cannot just say we set a trend and others follow, and then we say that's good enough. If we are ever trendsetters, we must go beyond that. We must look far beyond the trend we have set. We must always look beyond what is trending. Looking beyond what is trending must be the norm and the practice. In other words, we must look at not just 5 years from today, not 20 years in the future, or 100 years. We may go even far beyond. Even as we deal with the problems of today, as we correct situations and mistakes of yesterday, we must never forget that tomorrow and the day after and the future will be inescapably here. The future will be here. So what do we do in the future? How will we be dealing with problems in the future? What kind of leadership will we be offering in the future? What kind of education will we be providing to future generations? How will we be dealing with environmental issues concerning forests, water, and other resources? What do we expect in the near future and in the far future? What kind of forests do we expect tomorrow and the day after? What are we doing today to ensure that the forests of today, which enable us to get the rains and enjoy the good climate we enjoy in a way today, tomorrow also? What will ensure that such a forests will be there tomorrow and the day after? Will we be watching when forests keep reducing in acreage and in density? Will we just be watching, doing nothing, when indigenous forests are being destroyed on a daily basis? Will we just watch passively, doing nothing, when the Amazon and other forest lands are burning from time to time? Will we be replacing indigenous plants, crops, and trees with exotic plants and trees which do not provide as much benefit to the third environment in a particular location? How will we be ensuring that native or indigenous plants and forests are preserved and expanded so that the environment is protected adequately. Other than that, water resources are dwindling. Rivers in many places are drying up. What are we doing about it? Agriculture is not producing enough as it used to. People are not interested anymore in crop and animal husbandry. Are we training the youth and other people with this and giving them the skills of agriculture and crop production and food production? Humans will always need food. We must have professionals in agriculture and animal husbandry. We cannot just afford to stress only certain areas while we ignore the most important part of the economy. Food production and markets are important. We must ensure adequate food, safe food, and adequacy of food today, tomorrow, and in future. So what are we doing about food production, food safety, and food security? Concerning modernization, the issue of creativity, innovation, invention, and imagination come in. When we put a lot of effort doing certain jobs or tasks, we must always ask ourselves, how can we do such tasks much faster, more efficiently, and more proficiently? In other words, whatever we apply muscle to, we must inject some intelligence into. We must resort to wisdom and ingenuity and apply our intelligence to create ways, methods, and machines and other ways of making doing such tasks easier. That way, as humans, we can have more time to plan our future, our today, more appropriately and more deeply and more widely and more sustainably. We cannot afford just laboring as if we don't think. We must use our brains. We must have enough time to plan ahead. That way, we'll be able to ensure the environment is protected, forest land is replenished, water resources are protected, desertification is prevented and averted, war and calamities are eliminated or minimized. We must not just be random and erratic. We must get organized. We must be systematic in the way we do things. We must look ahead. We cannot just be waking up every morning, doing things, following certain routines without thinking. We are not robots, we are humans. We create robots. We create software. We come up with algorithms and other ways of making work easier. So machines, robots, methods, software cannot replace humans. We must have time when we delegate our tasks to the methods, machines, and other things we create. We must have that time to plan ahead. We must think about the environment, about agriculture, about food production, about seas, rivers, and oceans, about air, about space, about our communities, about our roads, our railway system, our energy, our infra systems, the way we transport things today, the way we do things today, and the way we intend to do things tomorrow, the way we intend to transport things tomorrow. We must ensure sustainability today and every day. We cannot adequately deal with our problems today and plan for the future if we don't give enough time to creativity, innovation, and using our intelligence to create what we want to use today and tomorrow. We must protect the world from not just from war and calamities, but also from man-made mistakes. We must protect wildlife. We must protect natural resources. We must ensure sustainability. Let us come to the conclusion. Modernity is here. That's just today. But what's the level of modernity that we intend to bring about tomorrow or the day after, in the future? Do we care about today? Do we care about posterity? Then we must always have time to think far beyond what we are used to. We must have time. We use our intelligence, our ingenuity, our creative powers, our imagination to think about today, tomorrow, and the future. We must plan ahead. We must focus on making society and the world trouble-free and prosperous. We must be able to create the economies that don't disadvantage us today and or posterity in the future. The world economies must be supported by systems, processes, and methods that ensure sustainability. We must not be erratic in any way. Even as we rely on technology, we must go to the basics, the very basics which make a difference in human survival today, tomorrow, and the era of posterity a century from now and beyond. We must give more focus to investing in honesty and integrity. That way, we can create systems that will ensure safety, peace, and prosperity for all. We must ensure safety for every person. Safety for ourselves, for our families, for our neighbors, for our communities, for our nations, and for the world. We must be safe today and outside our homes. We must be today safe in our homes and outside our homes. We must be safe domestically and internationally. We must have peace internally or domestically and externally or internationally. We must have peace everywhere, always. We must be safe everywhere, always. In other words, we want peace not just today, but every day, in every place on planet Earth. We want safety for every person, not today, but every day, indefinitely. Not just here, but everywhere on planet Earth. We are all interconnected. We are all brothers and sisters. So we must think of ourselves as distinct individuals who make up humanity. We must also think of ourselves as humanity, collectively as society who make up the world. We must never disadvantage any individual or any community. We must be able to protect ourselves more adequately, more appropriately, and more sustainably. We must be able to eradicate disease, ignorance, and stupidity. We must eliminate hatred from the face of the earth so that people everywhere can live together as brothers and sisters. This is not a choking matter. Whether you are a leader or an ordinary citizen, a man or a woman or a child, a professional or non-professional, a technocrat, educator, professor or teacher, system builder, strategist or planner, or just an ordinary citizen somewhere, these are matters of concern to us all collectively and to each individual living today and tomorrow. These are matters we must think about as distinct individuals and as communities, as families, as organizations, as nations, as society, and as the world. We share one world. We must be able to coexist in harmony and peace. Safety for humanity means safety for every individual, today, tomorrow, and in the future. Peace for our communities means peace for every individual, everywhere on planet Earth, today, tomorrow, and always. Why? It is because peace is all that matters.